Welcome, all you sinners and sodomites, to Bible Stories for Atheists. I am Josh.
I'm Lynn.
And we are your guides to the prophetically profitable stories, literally, literarily littering the Bible.
We're back.
Feels so good to be back. You remember how every Eminem song, or every Eminem album has that like 15 times throughout the album? It feels so good to be back. He used to do that all the time.
I don't remember that at all.
I'd probably listen to more
Was
Eminem.
Was it the Walmart cut of Eminem
No,
albums?
it wasn't.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no, Walmart cut that part out.
I see.
Walmart wasn't okay with him being back. No. They wanted to ignore him being back as much as they could. So in this season, we're covering everything the Bible has to say about the end times. We're going to be doing deep dives into Amos, Hosea, Micah, Isaiah, Daniel, and Revelation. I feel like I'm missing one in there.
You definitely are. What's the one your mom talks about all the time? I thought there was another one too that's like around Daniel.
Ezekiel. I'm missing Ezekiel in that list. All right. Well, Ezekiel also. We're talking about that too. In this episode, though, we're talking about the early prophets, Amos, Hosea, and Micah. And we're just kind of talking about how did the Bible start thinking about the end times.
Right.
So strap in and strap on for, anyway, the end times. How much vodka is in this? Like if you were to, so these are tall glasses.
Yeah, it's just 2 ounces each.
So give me an indication visually. So like
right here.
Okay, so like 50% vodka.
Well, that was with ice.
Oh, okay. That was with ice. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
the ice elevates the level.
So
right?
like 25% vodka?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good
you
ratio.
cannot taste it.
I know.
At all.
Yeah. I wonder if it's all at the bottom.
Oh, maybe. Maybe it is.
You're going to get to the bottom and it's going to be like.
Well, that'll be the
11
end
drops.
of the episode. So that'll be perfect.
You drink really slow. Mine's going to be gone before we really get started.
I do a lot of talking. Yes. We need to get back into it.
I know. Don't hit your microphone, Lindsay.
Everybody knows what to expect with us.
Do they?
I think so.
Been gone so long.
We have.
They may have forgotten.
They may have forgotten
They may
us.
have forgotten what we're like. Which is chaotic.
They just need to get our scent. And then they'll remember who we are.
Oh. Or scent.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's really gross.
Well, maybe speak for yourself.
I don't know.
My scent is delightful.
I don't know about that.
Oh.
All the time.
Oh. Oh, like we never left.
Well, we didn't ever leave anywhere.
Well, that's true.
It's just
That's
we
true.
haven't recorded it.
Yeah.
We've still been this the whole time.
We've just been echoing into the void.
Yeah. We actually recorded like 8 episodes and forgot to do it in front of microphones.
Anyway, we're doing the end times.
Yes, fitting.
Yes.
Fitting.
Fitting. The earliest writings we have in the Bible are some stories about Moses and Abraham. And there are some hymns like the Song of Deborah, which we talked about
Deborah.
a while back. Yeah. So these stories are from like around 900 BCE. Then between 760 and 700 BCE, so about 200 years later, we get the first 4 complete or mostly complete books that end up being in the Bible as we have them today.
Okay.
And they are all books of the prophets. Amos, Hosea, Micah, and Isaiah all originate from this time.
Wait, who? Say those names again.
Amos, Hosea, Micah, and Isaiah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My brain was like, you said Isaiah twice, but it was
Oh, no, they just all sound alike. Hosea, yeah, and Micah. You kind of mash those together, you get something kind of like Isaiah. So anyway, all of these books kind of originate from this time, and they're also all poetry. So maybe they're not meant to be taken literally, but they also all are about the end times.
Yeah.
All of them kind of, or at least are used as like,
listen, if I were
references to the end times by books later in the Bible.
If I were a poet,
yeah,
in a time where the written word wasn't used a lot,
right,
and people were just listening to me spew poetry at them, the end times would be the thing that would catch the audience.
Right. And really, it was a genre.
Yeah.
Just like it is today.
Sure.
It's a genre. Like, people have always had this genre of talking about when the end times are going to happen. Mm-hmm. But one question we have today is, are these books actually talking about the end times? Or is it something different that they're talking about? Right. Okay. Let's start off by going down. God,
You're out of practice.
I am out of practice with this.
Yeah, it's okay.
So one thing that's going to be fun with this too is I'm not doing pre-recorded readings.
Oh man!
So we're gonna be walking through them.
Oh, people are gonna be irritated by my questions again. Oh, that's good.
The drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'd be a good summer cocktail.
Yeah,
a little mint really in there.
It's basically a mint julep.
Or basil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or oregano.
I don't know about
thyme.
Oregano.
Rosemary.
Rosemary might be good.
Yeah.
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 Some lavender.
Cilantro.
Ooh.
Paprika.
Maybe.
Tabasco.
Some chili powder.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do some tahini on the rim of the glass.
Right. Tahini.
Yeah.
Some garlic.
I always take it too far.
It's funny because I thought a few ago was too far. And then you started agreeing with me again. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm just learning about you.
You're learning about flavors.
Yeah. I'm learning about flavors.
Yes. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
End times.
Yeah. Anyway, end times. So let's kick it off with Amos. The book of Amos is traditionally attributed to a shepherd who lived in the 8th century BCE. He likely delivered his messages around 760 to 750 BCE. He lived in the northern kingdom of Israel under King Jeroboam II. Amos wasn't a professional prophet. He apparently was just an ordinary guy who decided to deliver some pretty harsh messages. The book is a collection of his prophecies focusing on social justice, the consequence of Israel's moral and religious failures, and the looming threat of divine judgment. Amos warns about the day of the Lord. It's a concept that is going to keep coming up again and again through the rest of the Bible, right? When talking about the end times, the day of the Lord. So this is going to be a time of apocalyptic disaster that Israel wrongly expects to be a day of victory, according to Amos.
Oh.
Instead, he says it's going to be a day of darkness and doom because of their injustices and idolatry.
Oh.
I know.
This might be coming up soon then.
Well, yeah, right? Like you could see it today if you wanted to. Yeah. You could see it today. You could see it thousands of years ago too.
Yeah,
right?
It's like people just haven't changed.
Well, yeah, ever. Yeah. It's like you can always see these things coming. Yeah. His writings are filled with vivid imagery and symbolic language, drawing on what he saw happening around him, like the rich oppressing the poor and religious leaders turning a blind eye. What the fuck is going on outside?
Lots of car accidents.
Are the rich oppressing the poor and the religious turning a blind eye?
You know, fires are pretty like a thing in the... I don't know if that was a fire truck. It could have been an ambulance. We are really close to the hospital.
Yeah.
Let's just give everybody our exact location of where we live.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Didn't say what hospital, though. There's 20 in this town.
And you'll have to scour through the rest of the episodes to figure out what town.
Anyway.
We're gonna be here for like 3 hours just for the one episode.
You're gonna wish that you would pre-recorded shit.
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, the end times.
So Amos's objective is clear: to call out the complacency of the people and warn them that their actions would lead to national destruction if they didn't change course, right? So that's what he's trying to do. So we're going to start off by skipping some stuff, but basically the book starts out with Amos calling out some different cities and nations for their transgressions to their neighbor. And then we get something like this. So I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, and it shall devour its strongholds. And stuff like that is what evangelicals are like getting their nipples all tingly, right about now. Like with everything going on over there.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that they really fixate on.
But like, also, that's happened a bajillion times.
Exactly.
Since the inception of this story.
Right. It's something that, like, there's always been issues in this area where people try and fight over the land. And, there's a lot of places that are like that in the world. Mm-hmm. This one just happens to have a bunch of religious stuff.
Right.
Kind of wrapped up in it.
A lot of religious stuff.
Yeah.
A lot.
Which is why all these areas at this point are fighting for that land. I think everybody kind of wants that, like they want their religious land, obviously, and they see it as truly theirs. Mm-hmm. But also, I think a lot of people want it for the tourist dollars.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day.
Mecca and all that.
Yeah, all of it. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of money to be had in that land at this point. Yeah. But doesn't matter about the Bible because that's not anything that they were thinking about back then.
Right. Well, no, it was a crossroads.
I don't know if they thought of tourist dollars yet, but maybe
they just didn't recognize the idea of tourism, but they do like that. Obviously, a lot of
bring people in.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't call it tourism, when you're in a city that's in a crossroads, like,
right.
The reason why they got so big is because that's where all the money was.
Right. Yeah.
And so you could go and sell your wares and your prostitution and
wares and prostitution. Yeah.
That's kind of it. And you're crazy street preacher.
Yeah. Sell your end times.
Because that's what, when you were like, this guy wasn't
he's a shepherd.
He wasn't what did you call him? A professional prophet?
Yeah.
Which is a crazy thing to be.
Oh, yeah.
But he just reminds me of the guy that used to show up at like the farmer's market with his little picket sign and be like, the world is going to end. And
we didn't say which farmer's market.
There are 20 in this town.
Yeah.
But imagine just sitting there and writing down everything he says and then being like, here's a book of the Bible.
Yeah.
Is what when you said that, that's what it reminded me of. It would not happen today.
Well, yeah. Why would you actually pay any attention to that person?
Right. Yeah. But this guy
somehow
got a whole book in the Bible.
And probably judging from because spoilers, I've read this ahead of time.
What?
Judging from his stuff, it was like a populist thing, probably because it's about anti-rich shit.
Yeah.
It's against the 1%.
Sure. Do you think Amos was actually real, or did somebody else
write it
and then make up the story of Amos?
Yeah, they made him famous.
They did, and his cookies.
Yeah.
And I say that knowing that, like...
Yeah, we couldn't possibly really know.
And odds are that none of the people who are named in the Bible, but they may be real, but also not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any reason to think there wasn't an Amos,
right?
Who probably originated these writings. Yeah.
I
don't see any reason not to think so. So there's bullshit. And then Tyre also delivered communities over to Edom. Edom pursued his brother with the sword and cast off all pity. Ammonites ripped open pregnant women in Gilead in order to enlarge their territory.
Ew.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Moab burned to lime the bones of the king of Edom. So that's all shit he calls out. And then we get to Judah and Israel. So any listeners who don't remember this, the basic history of Israel is that we had the two nations, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Israel, around 700 BCE. We're going to get to it in this. The northern kingdom collapses to the Assyrians, to the Assyrian Empire. A bunch of people move south, and a bunch of people get deported to Assyria. And then in about 550, I think, BCE, the southern kingdom of Judah falls. And that is when a bunch of people get exiled to Egypt and stuff like that. A bunch of people go to Babylon. And then it's not until the Persian king Cyrus comes through a few centuries later, or 50 years later. It's a 50-year exile. The Persian king Cyrus comes through. He defeats the Babylonians and gives the land back to Jewish people, right?
Okay.
To the Judeans,
sure.
Specifically, really, is how the history goes. And then they seem to kind of suddenly have all these stories about, oh, this land is ours too. This northern land is ours too,
right. Yeah.
It's kind of how it seems to me, in everything I've read. So that's kind of the history of this stuff.
Okay.
So we get to Judah and Israel. Amos starts talking about Judah and Israel. Judah is called out for rejecting the instruction from the Lord and not keeping his statutes. But interestingly, Judah is basically treated like the rest of these countries, and it's only Israel that really gets called out. Sorry, this is really fucking boring. No, you're good?
I'm just trying to readjust to not listening to your melodic pre-recorded reading.
Yeah, I'm getting to the first one that would have been a reading.
Okay.
So up till now, it's just been my typical bullshit.
Yeah, no, it's not. Listen. I find the whole Bible incredibly boring.
Yeah.
Don't blame that on you.
Yeah, I know.
And B, there are a lot of people out there who actually really enjoy learning this from you.
Yeah.
And are history nerds and hearing and understanding the behind the scenes shit that was happening when the Bible was being written. So don't be shitty to yourself.
Okay. Just making sure.
If my eyes glaze over, that should not be stop you.
Because when you do it, it's audible. Just kidding.
I was like, is it? What am I doing? No. Am I doing something I don't realize?
I can hear your eyes glazing over. It's the same sound that I would hear from a woman whenever I would perform a magic trick to try and...
the sound of a vagina drying up?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I'm picturing it. It. Okay.
Anyway. Thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel and for 4, I will not invoke the punishment. Because they sell the righteous for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals. They who trample the head of the poor into the dust of the earth and push the afflicted out of the way. Father and son go in to the same young woman, so that my holy name is profaned. They lay themselves down beside every altar on garments taken in pledge. And in the house of their God they drink wine they bought with fines they imposed. So he's calling out the bad behavior he sees, and he just keeps going like this until the end of the chapter, basically.
So basically he's like, you all are treating poor people shittily.
Yeah.
And that's not cool.
Yeah, basically he's Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
For back then. Except he's more religious.
Poor and the weak. It's really irritating to hear this shit in the Bible and think of all the stupid shit that spews out of really religious people's mouth as a justification for not providing social welfare programs and universal health care and stuff like that. And it's but what about this?
Yeah.
But what about this, you guys?
It's in there.
It's in there too.
Yeah. It's in there. It's important. But it's in the Jewish part, so I guess they don't care.
But Jesus cared.
Jesus did, yeah.
Well, they should care too.
Yeah. I don't know if they realized
Chris-
Jesus was Jewish, but
Christians, their whole fucking religion's based on Jesus.
yeah. And Jesus is based on this.
Yes.
So in chapter 3, Amos emphasizes that Israel's privileged relationship with God brings greater accountability. So with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
They ripped Stan Lee off with this.
He was alive back then.
He was writing for them.
He wrote Spider-Man back then.
Spider Jesus. Their persistent sins have led to a situation where divine judgment is inevitable. But then by chapter 4, God kind of loses the thread.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. I sent among you a pestilence after the manner of Egypt. I killed your young men with the sword. I carried away your horses, and I made the stench of your camp go up into your nostrils. Yet you did not return to me, says the Lord.
So he's the reason.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No matter how much I keep fucking you over, why don't you come back?
That is canonical though. After all of the fucking Judges chapters where he kept getting pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But inevitably they would return to him temporarily.
Yeah, that was the whole cyclical side of those stories. Yeah, that they keep returning, but then turning away after like a generation.
So this feels like something out of that.
Right. And obviously I was going to say, obviously he's taking inspiration from that. But again, this is one of the first books.
Yeah. So it's like those took inspiration from this.
They could have also been stories that were out there, but weren't compiled into a writing yet. Yeah. Like one book yet, but.
Yeah.
But it was out there. That was like stuff people were writing about.
Yeah, the stench part is weird.
Yeah.
Like he did all of these things, and also I made you guys be able to smell yourselves and how bad you stink.
Aren't you glad?
Thank you. Yeah. No, I am glad. Thank you. Thank you for making men realize that they stink. Hopefully they started bathing after that.
No. I didn't give them that thought. And then chapter 5, we get this. Woe to you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you want the day of the Lord? It is darkness, not light, as if someone fled from a lion and was met by a bear, or went into a house and rested a hand against the wall and was bitten by a snake. Is not the day of the Lord darkness, not light, and gloom with no brightness in it? I hate and despise your festivals, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. And the offerings of well-being of your fatted animals I will not look upon. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the melody of your harps, but let justice roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream.
Yeah. So picturesque.
Yeah.
I was like,
you can see how they ripped off MLK.
I can see it. I love the ran from a lion but ran into a bear.
Yeah.
Or like leaned your hand against the wall and got bit. But like,
that
is poetry.
Right. Yeah.
But using full on allegory and shit. Ugh. So good. Also, God hates everybody.
Also, God's really happy when you are hurt.
He doesn't. But it sounds like he doesn't like the people who don't worship him. Obviously, that's a given. He also doesn't like the people who do worship him,
right?
Because he doesn't like their music.
God's not really a people person.
Doesn't like parties.
Yeah. It's not a party person.
But I do agree that it is weird.
Hates surprises.
Because basically, it sounds to me like they're saying, like, and we do see people who are like, I look forward to the end times because they assume they'll be the ones that are taken up to heaven.
Right.
So it is, and he's like, I don't know why you are excited about that. It ain't going to be you.
Yeah, I know.
Basically.
I know.
Why aren't you afraid of this? You don't know what fucking I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You think you know what I'm going to do, but you have no clue what I'm going to do. I'm God.
Right. Yeah.
Hubris.
Yeah.
Massive amounts of hubris.
Yeah. So, hopefully you're righteous, but, Amos is like, no, nobody's worth it. Nobody's worthy of this. But I kind of wonder if Christians would read this and be like, well, yeah, but that's Israel. It's not America.
Yeah, this place that didn't exist back then.
If I stay out of Israel, I'm fine.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. But one thing I will say for sure is I don't think he was talking about people thousands of years later. Right?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
He's talking about the people right then, right there.
Yeah. Most people don't have the foresight to think like 10 years in their own future.
Right.
Let alone thousands of years in society's future.
Yeah.
He's definitely not talking about us.
Right. This gives us the day of the Lord concept. Like I said, we're going to be talking about this throughout the rest of the season. And it's obvious that this concept already existed, right? Like the way he's talking about it, he's talking about something that is people already know about. He's not setting up what the day of the Lord is.
Right.
He's saying it like, you already know what this is. I'm telling you, it's going to be different than what you think it is.
Right.
So my question is, where was it defined? Like, how do where is this that we would have what the day of the Lord is supposed to be that he's saying it isn't,
Right.
Like, why is that? If it's a real thing, why is it not included in the Bible that we know what he knew about it?
Its source is probably not the current iteration of Judaism at the time. It was probably paganism.
At some point, whatever writing it was probably deemed illegal by the religious elites or something. Yeah. And it was destroyed.
Yeah. Because I would be curious as to it's hard because so many people were pluralistic back then. So you wouldn't have like a day of the Lord because there were various gods. Right. So you couldn't take like Greece and be like, what would this be in Greek mythology?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I haven't studied Greek or Roman mythology, but so I don't feel like they had apocalypses.
I don't think so either.
They must have had something like that, but I don't remember any.
Like, why would they?
Yeah.
Because the gods had like their own, basically in Greek mythology, humans were just the playthings of all of these gods.
Yeah.
And, the different realms were different. So you had, where the gods lived, but then you also had Hades, which was like a full society.
Yeah. Well, the underworld.
Right.
It was a whole world and everybody went there.
Yeah. Good or bad.
Right. Just like Sheol in the Old Testament.
Right.
They believed in Sheol, where an underworld where everybody went.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that was a part of Judaism.
Right. Right.
I'm not positive. I don't think it still is. I think rabbinic Judaism changed that up at some point, but I was trying to think if that is still the belief of Judaism is in Sheol, but I don't think so. Anywho, we're not the people to talk about when it comes to Judaism.
No.
Try to
barely the people to talk about Christianity.
Amos 6-9 delivers a harsh critique of Israel's wealthy elite who are complacent and arrogant, living in luxury while ignoring the coming disaster. Amos warns that their wealth won't save them from the impending judgment. Despite attempts to silence him, Amos insists that destruction and exile are on the horizon. However, the final chapter offers a glimmer of hope, with a promise that after the devastation, Israel will be restored and renewed. A lot of Christians read this and other prophecies like this, and they think the Bible is saying that this proves that the Bible is real, right? Because what happens to Israel next is the northern kingdom gets sacked by the Assyrians. They are quote unquote destroyed, except not really. Right. They're not really destroyed, because they just go south and some of them get exiled. But, and in fact, the people who do get exiled basically chose to leave because a bunch of people who stayed,
right.
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 Anyway, This isn't like some divine prediction of something that happened. Amos is likely some talking head news commentator from the south, from the southern kingdom of Judah. That's where he was living. And he was talking about the bad policies of the northern kingdom, this kingdom, this neighboring kingdom. And that's all this guy is.
Right.
Just a talking head commentator.
Yeah, street preacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's stuff we see today. And there are some good takes in Amos when it comes to the whole fuck these religious elites.
Rich people, yeah.
And but it just doesn't predict the future.
Right. It's just telling about what's happening.
Right. At the time.
Yeah.
And if he got it wrong, he probably would not have been remembered.
Right.
They probably would have gotten rid of his writing,
Right. Yeah. I'm sure there was a ton of shit that just happened back then that nobody even knows about.
I bet there were a bunch of people who wrote responses to Amos.
Sure.
And was like, no, you're full of shit, and they obviously were wrong, kind of, because eventually they did get sacked. But
right. Well, I am pro his message in this.
Yeah.
Fuck religious rich people and them thinking they can buy their way into a positive afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
We're surrounded by that in this area.
Not saying what area that is.
No, there's 20 of those people. But
there's 20 of those people.
Yeah, families. When I hear stuff like that, I just always have a hard time reconciling the prosperity gospel against shit like this.
Right.
And it literally is just them ignoring.
Joel Osteen has a hard time too.
How can you justify the prosperity gospel when there's stuff like this in the Bible and they're using this as justification of something else?
Yeah.
You can't use this as proof that the Bible is real and then ignore everything it says.
Oh, I disagree. I think they absolutely can.
Well, they shouldn't.
I agree. They shouldn't. Yeah.
Fucking all or nothing, bitches.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I agree. But, all of a sudden, it's poetry. It's not meant to be taken literally. Or, like I said, they're talking about Israel. They're not talking about America.
Oh my God. I hate that fucking, every time you say it, I want to punch you in the face.
I know. But honestly, however you want to get out of that, you can.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If you want to, and people will just go along with it.
That's what happens when it's made up.
Yeah.
It's all made up and the points don't matter.
Right? Christianity. The ultimate, whose line is it anyway? Oh my God. So Amos was from the south in Judah and was criticizing the north, Israel, about injustice, idolatry, everything. You just heard it. Now we'll hear from a prophet living in the north, the kingdom that does fall eventually. They both do. But Hosea began prophesying shortly after Amos, around 755 BCE. Okay. And continued right up until the fall of Israel in 722 BCE. It kicks off with this. When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, "Go, take for yourself a wife of prostitution and have children of prostitution, for the land commits great prostitution by forsaking the Lord." So he went and took Gomer, and she conceived and bore him a son. Gomer.
That's a sad name for a prostitute.
It's a sad name. It's a sad name for anybody.
Gomer.
Yeah. There's also
was she a prostitute?
Was Gomer Pyle named after this prostitute?
Oh. That changes that show entirely.
Yeah.
So he was. He used the word prostitution a lot.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a wife of prostitution.
Yes. And have children of prostitution.
What the fuck does that mean?
Children with the prostitute.
Is the children aren't also going to be prostitutes?
But if he's marrying her,
she's not a prostitute.
She's not
anymore.
A prostitute.
She's a reformed prostitute.
Right. He would have to have children with her before they got married and pay her for the privilege of such.
Yeah.
in order for him to.
I feel like all women were prostitutes back then, if you really break it down.
Has it ever really changed?
Considering dowries were usually involved.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird, but God does have an affection for prostitutes, I think.
Kind of. Yeah.
He talks about them an awful lot.
Depends on the book you read. So Hosea is going to use this throughout the book. Mm-hmm. He's going to use this metaphor of his own troubled marriage. Metaphor, reality, who knows? It's up to you to decide how real the Bible is. He's going to use this metaphor of his own troubled marriage to illustrate Israel's unfaithfulness to God. So just kind of keeps going back to that.
I'm just going to lay this out there ahead of whatever it is you're about to say. Listen, she's a businesswoman. Just because you married her doesn't mean she's going to stop doing her business.
Right.
Like, that comes with the territory.
Yeah, you chose it.
Yeah, per God.
Yeah, God knew what the deal was.
Yeah, so, like, enjoy yourself. She knows how to do a lot of things.
Right. She's probably really good. 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, I'm just saying.
She has her own money.
Yeah. Yeah, independently wealthy.
Yeah. You can stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm kind of wondering back then though, like, how do you know with those kids? Like, they all look different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Then Hosea has 3 kids with Gomer that are just used as symbols of God having issues with the Israelites, of course. And then Hosea 2 starts with this. Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband, that she put away her prostitution from her face and her adultery from between her breasts. Or I will strip her naked and expose her as in the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and turn her into a parched land, and kill her with thirst. You know, like a loving God.
Yeah. So she is Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. She's in this metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know if getting a prostitute naked is a hard thing to do.
Right.
I also didn't know that you stored adultery between your boobs.
Right. From between your breasts. Really interesting stuff we learn about these writers.
Yeah.
As they.
Prostitution in your face.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, yeah. Interesting.
Like, I hope people think about that. The fact that this is a guy who wrote this, you know?
Definitely.
This is like.
Definitely.
Some dude wrote this and that's a writer of the Bible.
Yes.
Like, just, I hope you take that for what it's worth. So there are going to be several times in this season where we're going to ask this, but if this really is the word of God, why is it worded like this? Like, even if you think God is like a loving but firm parental figure, is this really what someone loving but firm would say? Or does it sound like someone psychotic wrote it?
Yeah. Now listen, here's an argument for you.
Yeah.
One could say that God could be speaking to you, but you are also insane.
Right.
So the way God's words get translated is crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But then that bears the question, why did Josh
go on?
Why did God?
Is that Freudian? I know.
Why did God choose
or Jungian, maybe? I don't know.
Why did God choose the crazy person? And now it feels like I'm asking you why you chose the crazy person.
Here's my question. Why didn't God fix the crazy person?
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah.
God, like, great if God wants to talk through the crazy person. Fix the crazy person. Fix the crazy.
Right.
Show me that you're God.
Yeah. Did he not get like a run through of an edit before it was published?
Right.
Where he was like, bro.
Yeah.
Adultery in your bosom? Come on, man.
That is not how I would have worded that.
You know, you're trying to use a metaphor to talk about Israel, but like people are just going to get horny reading this. That's not really what
and
I
not
want.
in the right way.
Yeah.
Not in the right way either.
Yeah, not horny for me, just horny.
It's talking about like violence too. And it's like, yeah, let's keep the two things separate.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
It's all faithfulness and idolatry with Hosea. Throughout the book, he warns of impending judgment because the people have broken the covenant with God, and there's visions of divine retribution if Israel doesn't repent. But Hosea knows that's a downer, so he throws in some hope, promising that God's love and mercy will restore the nation if they turn back to him. On that day, says the Lord, you will call me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal, for I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
That's what it says?
Yeah. Baals.
I know, but
Yeah.
come on, God. Come on. You make it too easy.
And they shall be mentioned by name no more.
No more balls.
I will make for you a covenant on that day with the wild animals, the birds of the air, the creeping things of the ground, and I will abolish the bow, the sword, and war from the land. And I will make you lie down in safety. And I will take you for my wife forever. I will take you for my wife in righteousness and in justice, in steadfast love and in mercy. I will take you for my wife in faithfulness, and you shall know the Lord.
Know him.
Yeah. Biblically.
Yeah.
And then I will lay you down. And
wow, that's intense.
yeah.
That's
so
intense.
Let's gargle the balls.
Listen, some comments that we've gotten about our podcast is how crude we are. But like, come on.
Yeah.
It's in there, in the Bible.
Right. I know. Getting those balls out of her mouth.
But
that's the thing.
Am I supposed to ignore that shit?
God wants to get the balls out of the mouth. Yeah.
No sodomy.
That's what this all comes from.
Yeah.
They keep thinking it's 2 L's.
Oh, it's 2 A's.
Yeah, but it's 2 A's. They don't realize that God's totally fine with those balls being in the mouth.
Definitely. He would be.
Right.
For sure. There's not a single guy I've ever met that doesn't like his balls in somebody's mouth.
Some guys like other balls in their mouth.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
As long as there's not 2 A's, I guess. Anyway. So for those who don't remember, we've talked about them before, but Baal is a prominent god in ancient Semitic religion, particularly among the Canaanites.
Mm-hmm.
His name means Lord or Master, and he was primarily associated with storms, rain, and fertility. As a storm god, Baal was believed to control the weather, which was crucial for agriculture. Which was crucial for agriculture and survival. He was often depicted as a powerful figure, sometimes with a thunderbolt in his hand, symbolizing his control over the natural world. Baal was one of the most widely worshipped deities in that region, and various local forms of Baal existed, which were linked to specific cities or regions, right? So there's a Baal of this area, a Baal of this area. That's why there's balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, and it's interesting because it's like, well, yeah, that's what they were all like back then. All religions were kind of like this.
Listen,
you could pick and choose your gods.
It's still
like
fucking like
collecting cards.
It's like that today still.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
we just kind of
pretend there's like
change up our concept of it a little bit, but like we just relabel it.
Right.
Yeah. There's saints with Catholics.
Well, there's a bajillion iterations of Christianity, and they all choose the parts of the Bible they want to use the most.
Sure. Yeah.
And even though the name is the same, it's essentially the same concept.
Yeah. And today somebody can be adamantly Christian and adamantly for Taylor Swift, or something like that, like there's difference, like to the point where it's a little religious,
Yeah, definitely.
Like people,
I don't listen. Let's not talk.
I know. I'm talking about like
more scared of them than
I know. No kidding. I like Taylor.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah. She's great.
Oh, one thing too I noticed is it doesn't say that the balls aren't real.
Oh,
I mean, we have physical evidence, but sorry. Unlike the clitoris, we know the balls are real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you can't find it doesn't make it not real.
So anyway, the Bible doesn't say balls aren't real.
Right.
It says that they're the wrong gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to call that out. Like, okay, I guess other gods are real.
Well, we already know that from lots of books in the Bible.
Totally. But this is the first book. First book complete is saying this,
Yes.
That's it's an important part for reading the Bible, of understanding how the evolution of belief happened even within Judaism back then, because, you read these early ones, they're not saying that God is the one and only,
right?
Just the best. Anyway, Hosea 3 is more about how terrible the people are and how much they have sinned. There's clearly a lot of symbolism about events of the day, such and such area bowing to such and such king. There are a few verses that I thought listeners might enjoy, such as Hosea 3:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being a priest to me. Good verse, isn't it? It's one worth remembering. Here's Hosea 6:9. As robbers lie in wait for someone, so the priests are banded together. So again, it's religious, like.
Well, and I imagine too, like
elites.
back then, right? Exactly. So I would imagine there were many priests who were also very rich,
right?
And because they were taking money from
this rich priesthood,
mm-hmm.
There is, of course, plenty of xenophobic examples in here too, like in 7:11. Ephraim has become like a dove, silly and without sense. They call upon Egypt. They go to Assyria. So, just calling out, like, being shitty to other people just because they're from different lands.
Like a dove.
Yeah.
Silly. Doves are silly.
Silly and without sense.
I'm going to start calling people doves.
Yeah.
And being like.
7:16. They turn to that which does not profit. They have become like a defective bow. Their officials shall fall by the sword because of the rage of their tongue. So much of their babbling in the land of Egypt. So much for their babbling in the land of Egypt. I don't even know what he was trying to say with that. Anyway, and then we get Hosea 9:14. Give them, O Lord, what will you give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts.
Wow.
I know.
Rude.
I know. What a weird poem to write.
I know. And he's talking about like a
another land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I hope all your women are barren.
Right. And have dry breasts.
Well, if you're not having kids, you don't really need milk out of your titties.
The best I could do is help with creamer or something, but and the book ends with a chapter where Hosea is pleading with Israel to repent, and God is saying that he'll accept them back if they do so, essentially.
Yeah, so, like the last one.
Yeah. It's, again, a genre.
Yeah.
Like there's a template kind of for it.
Of course. Because you can't end a story without any hope.
Right.
Yeah.
It won't sell.
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, that is a thing. Like the people who are writing this down and stuff, like there's an industry of people writing down religious writings and selling them to people, right? Like that's a thing.
Sure.
And so if it doesn't sell well, it doesn't get copied.
Right.
And so that is a lens you have to think about this stuff through. Is like, of course, there's a formula to it and stuff because it had to sell.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can I ask before we move on?
Sure. Yeah.
Hosea.
Yeah.
is a name I am familiar with because I feel it was like in a lot of Catholic songs. But that's not referring to this guy, right?
I don't think so. I you know what I bet it is? And this is me not looking it up, but I bet Hosea just means something like great as God or something like that. And
because it would be like, oh, Hosea.
Yeah. It's the thing that in the New Testament, I feel like there are hymns in the New Testament that say Hosea in some way.
Hosea in the highest. Yeah.
So I don't know off the top of my head, but I bet it's something like that. Like it's kind of like saying I'm going to the John. You know?
Right.
It's
that
for folks outside of the US, that means you're taking a pee.
Or anyone younger than like
you call 40. The toilet a John.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like Gen Z is calling it a John.
Not that young people are listening to us.
Yeah.
But they definitely aren't using that.
Can I get a cup of Joe for when I get back from the John? Oh, those Gen Zers. I can't believe I'm 40.
I can.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm actually surprised you're not older than that. You give off old man vibes.
You're the one that told me to start wearing cardigans.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
All right, Micah. So Hosea was the only one of these four prophets from the northern kingdom. So now we're going back to the southern kingdom with Micah. Micah was writing from 740 to 700 BCE. So this is really covering the time with when the northern kingdom actually fell, which was, again, 722 BCE. I don't know if there's any importance around this, but Micah is the only prophecy of these that isn't written from the perspective of God, but from his own perspective, and God talks to him, which is kind of an interesting difference on these. So chapters 1 through 3 contain strong condemnations of both the leaders and the people of Israel and Judah for their idolatry, injustice, and corruption. And again, we get hope through a future restoration for the faithful people who survive, right? And in Micah 4, we get this. In days to come, the mountain of the Lord's temple shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be raised up above the hills. Peoples shall stream to it, and many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between many peoples, and shall arbitrate between strong nations far away. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall all sit under their own vines and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. For all the peoples walk each in the name of its God, but we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. Okay? That was a long one. And I heard your eyes glaze over.
No, I was listening.
I know you were listening. But
I was trying to remember it all.
I know. So we get the mountain of the Lord,
right?
Lord's temple. It sounds a lot like Olympus.
Yes.
One thing I noticed.
For sure.
They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. So they're going to have peace.
Right. It sounds like God wants a utopia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're not even going to know what war is.
Right. They'll completely forget about war.
Right. Sounds awesome.
I know, it does. But they shall all sit under their own vines and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid. For all the peoples walk each in their own way, blah, blah, blah. So basically, sounds a lot like everybody's going to be doing their own thing still.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own nations.
But we're not going to hate each other for it.
But we're not going to hate each other. And ultimately, Israel,
will worship this guy.
We'll worship God, Yahweh.
And these people will worship their guy.
Yeah.
And no one will care.
But we're going to be great. We're going to be great. Yeah. We're going to be, supreme and all that stuff. But everybody's going to be happy.
Awesome.
I know.
I love it.
It's a great idea.
It is.
Not what we hear later in the Bible, though.
No,
it's not anything like what we hear later.
No, not at all.
So it's like,
well, Jesus gets there a little bit.
No. Like, well, the end times is not like this.
Right.
This is like, so the day of the Lord, according to this, is very different than what we get later in the Bible, where this is like just simply that, again, other deities also exist.
Right.
And there's going to be peace on earth. There's nothing about going to heaven.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Like, all that stuff is completely
going. There doesn't need to be a heaven because everyone's happy on earth.
On earth. Everybody still lives mortal lives. Mm-hmm. Everybody still dies, has a normal lifetime.
Yeah. They just, this guy worships that guy, but you don't be mad about it because why are you mad?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have me, God.
Right.
Why are you mad about this guy?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what the end times was for these books.
Great.
Let's see.
Sounds awesome.
I know. Micah 5, 2-4 says, "But you, O Bethlehem of Ephrathah, who are one of the little clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to rule in Israel, whose origin is from of old, from ancient days. Therefore he shall give them up until the time when she who is in labor has brought forth. Then the rest of his kindred shall return to the people of Israel, and he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall live secure, for now he shall be great to the ends of the earth, and he shall be the one of peace." Okay.
It's Jesus.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
She who is in labor brings forth
from Bethlehem.
Yeah. Sounds like Jesus.
It sounds like Jesus, right?
Yeah.
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 Couldn't possibly sound like that because somebody read this and then made their story. Have those details.
The sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty fundamental prophecy for the Messiah, but what is it actually predicting? Is it predicting God coming in the flesh to die for everyone's sins?
Mm-mm.
Do we need to keep reading to get the better context? I think
yes.
I think yes.
Yes.
So that was 2-4. This is 5-6. "If the Assyrians come into our land and tread upon our soil, we will rise against them, 7 shepherds and 8 rulers. They shall rule the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod with the drawn sword. They shall rescue us from the Assyrians, if they come into our land or tread within our border." So it's about the fucking Assyrians. It's not like, this isn't about Jesus.
They're talking about a guy who's supposed to
save them from the Assyrians.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
not what Jesus did.
This is what a Messiah was. It was a warrior king.
Oh, that's not what Jesus was.
Right.
He got angry.
It was later that Messiah changed. The meaning of Messiah changed.
Why?
Because they kept not showing up. It had to become more of an ethereal thing. Of
It probably did. It was like probably Deborah. She was the Messiah, but then they didn't think it was her because she was a lady.
Well, see, the thing is, it seems like, and again, this changed even within Judaism, not just like Christians thinking Messiah means something different. My understanding is that in Judaism, the meaning has changed as well. But back then, a Messiah you wouldn't just have like the Messiah.
You'd have a Messiah.
A Messiah, right.
I see.
Yeah, David would have been like
guy.
David would have been like the prototypical Messiah.
Sure. Sure.
Anyway.
Okay. Also Deborah.
And Deborah, sure.
Definitely Deborah.
Except never going to be king.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's misogyny.
Right. Yeah. Still a judge. There weren't any kings at the time, so I think that was the highest rank she could have. She's basically a warlord, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
saving people from things.
Yeah. In Micah 7, we get this. The faithful have disappeared from the land, and there is no one left who is upright. They all lie in wait for blood, and they hunt each other with nets. Their hands are skilled to do evil. The official and the judge ask for a bribe, and the powerful dictate what they desire. Thus they pervert justice. The best of them is like a briar, the most upright of them a thorn hedge. The day of their sentinels of their punishment has come. Now their confusion is at hand. This is hard to read after watching Severance so much lately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to do it in that weird tinny Kier voice.
Yeah, right. Put no trust in a friend. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Have no confidence in a loved one. Guard the doors of your mouth from her who lies in your embrace. For the son treats the father with contempt. The daughter rises up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies are members of your own household. But as for me, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. So yeah,
a lot going on in that one.
Yeah. Some Christians might hear their hands are skilled to do evil. The official and the judge will ask for a bribe. The powerful will dictate their desire. Thus they pervert justice, and they'll think it's a prediction of today, but it's not. Again, this is a criticism Micah's making about Israel a long time ago. This has just always been stuff that has been with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And the shit that's happening today is just the same shit that's been happening.
Yeah. Rich, powerful people are always like this. That's why we have to eat the rich. Yeah. Luigi. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying Luigi.
Yeah.
We should just have like Player 2 t-shirts, and that should be like just that should be our Jesus fish.
Player 2. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna put that on the car.
Right. Player 2, this is our Jesus fish.
Yeah, it's a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Soon to be for sale on BibleStoriesForAtheists.com.
Right.
BSFA.cc.
Right. Exactly. This part, for the son treats the father with contempt. The daughter rises up against the mother. The daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. Your enemies are members of your own household. But as for me, I will look to the Lord. That is also found in Matthew 10, 35 through 36. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be the members of his household. I just thought it was kind of an interesting to like, if it sounds familiar, that's why.
That's the one where they used to talk about like, if your family isn't Christian, then they're your enemy.
They are your enemy.
Yeah. But that's not what he was talking about.
No, it's not the same thing. No, that he's talking about. No. Yeah. But I think that writer was literally copying that to like, but yeah, at the end of the day, they do that to lend more credence to what they're saying by copying that by quoting. Right. But then, it's taking the quote out of context and giving it a different meaning.
Right.
And people still buy that today.
Yeah.
Right. When they read it in Matthew. And then finally, Micah 7:18 through 20. Who is a God like you, pardoning iniquity and passing over the transgression of the remnant of his possession? He does not retain his anger forever because he delights in showing steadfast love. He will again have compassion on us. He will tread our iniquities underfoot. You will cast all our sins into the depths of the sea. You will show faithfulness to Jacob and steadfast love to Abraham, as you have sworn to our ancestors from the days of old. So for Micah, the end times are a period of peace and restoration.
Mm-hmm.
Nations will flock to God's mountain to learn his ways, and there will be a universal recognition of Yahweh. Even if people still worship their gods, they'll recognize Yahweh.
Sure.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Weapons of war will be transformed into tools for agriculture, symbolizing the end of conflict. People will live in safety and security, everyone sitting under their own vine and fig tree, enjoying the fruits of their labor. Is any of this actually end times, though? Because it sounds like it's promising that God will just create a paradise on earth, but mostly everything is still going to go on as normal, right?
Isn't that like some versions of the end times, though, are that like
the paradise on earth?
On earth.
That is a element to some end times beliefs.
Yeah.
Like Jehovah's Witnesses very much, I know, believe that the end times is going to be most of the Jehovah's Witnesses in the paradise earth.
Right, because they can only fit 10,000 people.
144,000.
Yes, in actual heaven.
Yeah, there's a maximum capacity.
Yes.
The fire marshal gets real pissed.
Definitely.
And
then everybody else just goes to hell.
Yeah. Well, they don't believe in hell. The Jehovah's Witnesses specifically don't.
Non-existence.
They go into non-existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
how cheery.
Yeah. So, yeah, but then like a lot of Christians don't believe that the people are going to be living on a paradise earth. Some people do, but
because of the whole left, like there's the whole left behind thing.
Yeah. Everybody thinks that you're all going to end up in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people believe heaven is going to get transformed into, or earth will be part of heaven or something like that. Who fucking knows?
Baby, do you know what that's worth?
Yeah.
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
I don't know any of the other lyrics.
They say in heaven,
love comes first. Ooh, baby, it's a place on earth. And we're back. Anyway, that's it for this week.
Yay!
Yeah. So next week we're gonna talk about Isaiah. And so that's the other one that comes from this time. Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't mention in this, but we'll get into it in the next episode. Isaiah, really only the first 40 chapters come from this time.
Okay.
The rest of the book gets written later, but we'll get into that.
40 chapters.
Yeah. So basically, but that was what was supposed to be the book.
Right.
It was just that. And then people came up with additions centuries later. And nobody really talks about that.
How it's not Isaiah anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I see. He's the other one that, the other name I recognize, right?
Yeah.
Hosea, completely just not from this context.
Right.
And then Isaiah, obviously, I think
Isaiah is the biggest book in the Bible, too.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
I see. But Micah and Amos, I know these names.
Yeah.
Right? I work with people with those names.
Yeah.
But they were definitely not books of the Bible I was aware of.
Right. They're small books. Yeah. And they're not talked about very often. But
well, one of them's super cheery. I can see why most people wouldn't want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
The other one's like, hey, man, rich people, don't do that.
Right. Don't be shitty to poor people.
Yeah. So I could see why these often don't get
talked about. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird how Christians don't get into these.
The Christians that we're talking about.
Not all Christians.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever met a Christian that was all about the book of Micah, though. I just don't nobody's really that into it.
It's the source material for Thomas More's Utopia. Duh.
Even your most liberal Christian is kind of like, I can take your leave, Micah.
Right. He's not really saying much.
Yeah.
It clearly didn't
happen. Jesus was better. Let's be honest. Jesus was better. They all lived miserably ever after.
I was not expecting that to be that loud. It was like the burp equivalent of like when you have to fart and you think it's going to be quiet, but then it's like
then you shit your pants.
Except I didn't throw up in my mouth or anything.
That's no, the equivalent would be throwing up in your shirt.
I've done that before.
Let's be honest, we all have.